We back again. JustSayOx, and I'm here with Sin.
What's up,
Today
y'all?
we want to talk about movies that shape the culture, movies that influence hip hop, movies that influenced us as a people, movies to where it didn't even matter a race, but it was a race to who was going to do it the best at that time. We got legends. When we talk about these movies, we talk about legends. And we could go from the 70s, 80s, the 90s, but we're going to focus on the 70s. Because these are the classics. These are the legendary classics.
Throwback cinema.
And I'm talking about movies like Superfly, Shaft, Coffee. We'll get to it. Right? All the Bruce Lee movies. The Godfather.
That's
The Godfather too.
All the Richard Pryor joints.
Richard Pryor.
Richard Pryor. Baby. You know what I mean?
I feel like Richard Pryor, excuse me, is a whole podcast by itself. Because Richard Pryor, the more I done research into Richard Pryor is a very interesting guy, bro. Right? Very interesting guy. But he started out doing these great movies, this great comedy in this decade of the 70s. And the 70s was so valuable because, you know, you go from the late 60s up into that 70s era, and you can see the attitudes changing. You can see the evolution of what was going on in the street. And what was going on in the street was reflected in these movies. Now, a lot of them could have been exaggerated, and that's where we get the Blaxploitation from with some of these movies that I'm going to mention today, right? But that's how big of an influence that this stuff really is. So for these movies to still be classic, and a lot of these movies, the studios didn't want to mess with them. Very low budget films. The actors and actresses getting paid way less than what all the other Hollywood actors and all the stars was getting paid at this time. But yet and still, these movies are unforgettable. Unforgettable. Where you want to start?
What?
Where can we start?
Where I want to start. All right. Let's start with Pam Grier, bro. You know what I'm saying? Pam Grier. Ladies first, right? Pam Grier is the epitome of, because we intertwine movies with reality and art, right? Art imitates life. So if you think of Pam Grier and the gravitas of this Black woman, she is known to be the first superhero lead woman in a movie. Like, not only is she Black, she a woman. She's the lead in her movie.
What movie you referring to?
Two of them. Coffee, Foxy Brown. Like, yeah, she was literally packing, beautiful, sex appeal, all that. Feel me? And she was gunning dudes down. You know what I'm saying? Manipulating, maneuvering the V. You know what I mean? Hitting the houses up, you hear me? So, like, Pam Grier, like, if you think of Pam Grier and her style, and you think of, like, artists today, the Nicki Minaj's, the Foxy Browns, the sexy.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you man or woman, they flow style.
They got that
you know how they talk.
Take charge I'm a boss.
Right.
Right.
I'm a
They got that.
boss.
I'm a boss. I'm not
I'm a
just
boss.
I'm not the
That's the perfect
housewife. I'm not just the weak little woman that's getting
boss.
pushed around. You know.
Right. I'm the down ass
Right. And I agree.
And that's that Pam Grier fly. That's that Pam Grier flow right there.
100%.
You know what I mean? But on a cinema level, you know what I mean? And I think, it's art. They both art. You feel me? But they reflect life. A lot of these movies come from the streets. You know what I'm saying? They reflect the streets. You feel me? And it's like nobody knows where Pam Grier got her style, but she definitely didn't come from the suburbs and so forth. You know what I mean? She was an army brat. You know what I mean? She came from Colorado. She had the wits. She worked and
For
all
some
that
reason,
right there.
I thought Pam Grier was from North Carolina.
She moved to North Carolina. Right. She moved to North Carolina. But she was a woman coming of age in a very, very trying time in life. Politics was hot. 60s. You know what I mean? And she was still popular, like even in the 2000s. You know what I'm saying? Quentin Tarantino movies. You know what I mean? So we in the 70s right now. You know what I mean? I think her style, her take chargeness, is just embodies some of these female rappers right now. I think it lends to them. I'm not saying that's exactly where they're coming from, but I'm just saying it lends to them greatly. From cinema to vinyl. You feel what I'm saying? And I think that's beautiful. I think, you know what I mean?
Pam Grier was 24 when Coffee came out.
24
24
years old. The industry, shook the industry. She was the first lead woman, superhero. Like Wonder Woman, superhero when we grew up, Pam Grier was before her. You know what I'm saying? Like Pam Grier was before her. And she was about that life. In the movie, in the cinema way. You know what I mean? We're definitely underrated. We don't get the marketing, we don't get the royalties as the Hollywood elites will, but we left a mark. You know what I mean? We left a mark. And there's many movies in the 70s that left marks. I mean, the hip hop wave, the Flash, the Pizzazz, the Pimps, the Hustlers, the Hoes, those was the movies of Blaxploitation. You know what I mean? Which was a term coined by the NAACP because it was exploiting black people, they felt. Feel me? That's where that name was coined from in 72. And yeah, but look what it did. It morphed. It morphed as we go on and on into the 80s, such and such. Where it did so much. There's so much in the 70s. Let's carry on.
So from Coffee to Foxy Brown, superhero.
Yeah. Which is almost like a
part 2.
It's almost like a part 2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Instead of her enemy, her ops being black in one movie, now her ops was white in another movie. It's just it's just like that. You know what I mean?
She started here.
Yeah. She was gunning niggas down, white, black, in between, you feel me? Puerto Rican, Dominican, whatever it was. They drug dealers and she getting revenge, and you know what I'm saying? And revenge, controversy sells.
Absolutely. Always and forever. Controversy.
Mm-hmm.
AKA media.
Yeah.
Right? But carrying on, man.
So we all know Shaft, Richard Roundtree, but one of the favorites that we all grew up on from the 70s, you know what I mean? Rest in power. Bruce Lee, man.
Legend.
Bruce Lee, man. You know what I mean?
All right, quick question.
This,
right? Off subject. Can Bruce Lee, can he beat Jackie Chan?
Absolutely.
Jet Li.
Absolutely.
Jet Li?
Absolutely. Yeah. He proved it. He proved it in seminars. It is not just a state, somebody's opinion. Bruce Lee went out and proved it.
He did. Tournaments. I think he was in a tournament when he got his back broke that time.
Bruce Lee went out and proved it. And you can't say less. I mean, like, if you just think of like some of Bruce Lee movies, how you relate it. I remember Into the Dragon, and as a kid, you see somebody like Jim Kelly. You know what I mean? Like, come on, bro. Afro, black, you know what I mean? Cool as hell. From the streets, fucking with Bruce. You know what I'm saying? Fucking with Bruce. Bolo. Bolo was the dude. Bolo was big, always
Bolo was
stocky.
the classic.
You feel me?
Villain in
every
martial arts movie.
Every movie.
And he's great. He's great at it. He always plays the same type of role though, just big, brolic.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like,
villain, right?
Bolo from them all the way through Bloodsport.
Bloodsport. Yep. That was that. Yo, Bolo was my favorite. Bolo was one of my favorites, bro. You see Bolo, bro, it was like, and he do all that cracking shit, like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, you stupid. But we also remember the infamous tracksuit. You know what I mean? Bruce Lee, this is the crazy part with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Bruce Lee passed away prior to that movie, because Bruce Lee passed away in 73, and that movie came out in 78. So they did some, chopping it up,
some more archive footage,
archive footage to get Bruce Lee to play in that movie. From the little bit of footage that they had, and that's the infamous tracksuit movie with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Oh, everybody remember Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, bro. Super tall, you know what I mean? But Bruce Lee was undeniable, bro. Like, Bruce Lee spawned everybody to love karate, man. Like, I went to karate school. I remember when we was kids in karate school, you had to do push-ups if you said shit like that. You know what I mean? Word up, yo, just to go, whoa, and look at the movies he spawned off of that. You know what I mean? One of your favorites in the 80s. Right?
Oh yeah, The Last Dragon, Bruce Leroy.
Absolutely,
right? Bruce Leroy.
Right? Yep.
Bro.
Absolutely.
All right. When we get to we're gonna do another part of this, people that's watching, by the way, because it's too much to talk about. But I will tell you this. I can't wait to get to The Last Dragon.
I can't wait to get to the Last Dragon, man. And I ain't talking about with Martin Lawrence in them, bro. You feel me? But
and that was some history. Was some history for me, because I didn't remember there being a Bad Boys. Like, when I think Bad Boys, the only one I ever thought of was the ones with Will Smith and Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bad Boys was like my first jail movie, bro. Like, official. Feel me? Official.
What year was that?
With Sean. That was 83. 83. I believe in 83.
Yeah,
but we do the 80s. The 80s got their own lane, man. The 80s, that's the crack era. Right now we're in the dope and smack era, the P-dope smack era. You feel me? This is the transcension, the ascending era, the 70s. You know what I mean? So it's so many. Blaxploitation films, bro. It's so many of them. It's very hard to say your favorite movie. Across 112th Street, Shaft, Superfly, like Ronald Hill, like it's so many that Antonio Vargas. You know what I mean?
Antonio Vargas.
Come on, brother. Antonio Vargas.
How many movies was he in?
You can't. I have no idea. All of them. You know what I mean?
Like, when I think about Antonio Vargas, my earliest memory was "I'ma Get You, Sucker." Because remind you, I am a 80s kid, right? So "I'ma Get You, Sucker" was the first one. It was hilarious. It was like, who in the hell is this dude with the pimp suit right out of jail with the fish tank shoes? It was hilarious. Shout out to Keenan Ivory Wayans for making that too. I got to do a little more history. I don't think that was his first major movie. I think him and Robert Townsend made one first, if I ain't mistaken, but classic movie. I'm gonna get you sucking these movies.
Bro, Antonio Vargas, it's like, what's bro name? Cat Williams. You know, if Cat Williams played in mad movies, he is you can see the direct line. It's like a correlation in the way they, the way they come out, the way they, but Antonio, well, I don't think he was a stand-up comedian or nothing like that, like Cat Williams. But in the cinema era, like his style and everything like that is definitely like a Cat Williams.
You
You know what I
can
mean?
relate the styles.
It's yeah, bro, the pimp.
Certain
You know what I mean?
mannerisms that they got,
Yeah, bro. Like he playing everything though. Like this guy who playing everything nowadays, bro. This guy played in everything. Like, you name a movie, he probably played in it, bro. In the 70s. Like
at some
he's
point
Samuel Jackson. He's Samuel
in that
Jackson
era.
in the 70s, in that era. You know how Samuel
Absolutely.
Jackson played in everything. He is definitely Samuel Jackson that played in every damn thing, bro. So be like, peace to Antonio Vargas, bro. Like, you know what I mean? He made everybody. Foxy Brown, he played in all, man. You name it, bro. Feel me?
In there.
All of them, man.
Man.
Yep.
Man. Let's talk about the Mac. Let's talk about the streets and let's talk about the.
All right, Goldie, yo, let's do this, man.
So when you think of the Mac, did that take Pimp into another level?
Well, Superfly came before the Mac, right? Superfly came before the Mac. I'm pretty sure more movies came before Superfly. The Mac was like peace to the Max Julian, man, aka Goldie, feel me? 1973. I wasn't even born yet, bro. You call me an old head? I wasn't even born yet when this movie came out. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a classic. It's definitely a movie. If you say anything about the 70s, right? You definitely gotta mention the Mac. That's that. Like you gotta mention the Mac, or something is wrong with you.
What would you say is more of a classic, the Mac or Superfly?
Man,
Personal opinion.
Personally, me, I
would go with Superfly also. I think
I'll go with Superfly. Ron O'Neal, you feel me? Young blood priest, right? And I think because the Superfly, if you know in hip hop, they take, verbal pieces out. And it kind of like transcended it into the later time, our time, feel me, of hip hop. Like you'll see like they take small pieces out. You know what I mean? You understand what I'm saying? In another movie that's like that, that's in where the hip hop culture, you can see them taking pieces out, to put it into their music, is The Education of Sonny Carson. That movie right there is a movie that they done took out pieces. You could go to it, you could just go through records and they probably pieced together the whole movie. You know what I mean? The Education of Sonny Carson. I mean, like, and especially Woo, bro. Like,
what was that movie?
You know what I mean? The Hawks versus the Lords. You feel me? The Education of Sonny Carson is like following a dude from his young life to his older life, to where he starts off in school. You feel me? His little teen, juvenile, high school. He runs with this team called the Lords. They got beef with the team called the Hawks, and they bang out with his friends die, goes back to prison. When he comes, he got his interaction with his pops and all that, and then when he come back, it's like his friends is all strung out. Even his boo when he left, his little girlfriend when he left, come back. It's like the dope ever. Like dope has taken control. Like Vietnam vets when they came home from Vietnam, it's like dope just took everybody. You know what I mean? And that's how it is at the end when it's all said and done. It's like he see like, yo, we all done up out here. You know what I mean? That's basically how the movie ended.
Life lessons.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it's like, yo, I gotta walk away from this. Everybody I love and everybody that I affiliated with is either in prison or on dope. You know what I mean? It's like, I gotta make a choice. I gotta separate myself from this. And he just like kind of walked into the, you know, next phase of his life. Now with that, feel me? Like that movie, but that movie, the sound bites for that movie is in hip hop today. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop today. You know what I mean? It's a good movie. You know what I mean? Cornbread Earl and me. You know what I mean? Mid 80s. I mean mid 70s for ourselves. This is about basketball. What's my man name? Lawrence Fishburne. Feel me? He was a kid.
Yeah.
You know what I
I
mean?
think that was like one of his first movies, wasn't
Yeah, I believe so. You know, it was about the basketball, cops killing an innocent kid that was doing the right thing, going to college, and you know, and then they had to testify. But it was about police corruption and how they twist, they make people, you know, say the wrong thing. Before Lawrence Fishburne was standing on his square and he was like, nah, I'm saying what I saw, you feel me? And that's what it's about. The only thing with me I don't get where the Earl part come from. Like, because Earl didn't want to talk. You know what I mean? Earl didn't want to say what the fuck happened. So I was like, that part right there, like whatever. But they, you know, they brothers, like him and Larry Fishburne, they like brothers. So I guess, you know, but Lawrence Fishburne was standing on that. Like, nah, I saw y'all niggas too. You know what I mean? And that was that. That's how that movie is, you know what I'm saying? Because he was going to college and police killed him for, I think it was a robbery, and they thought he did it. You know what I'm saying? So they shot him in the back. And then they like created a story around he was the guilty person type. So they had it was justifiable, it was a justified killing. You know what I mean? And at the end, you know, they realized that, you know, the police, they all work in cahoots. Ain't nothing different than today. You feel me? Ain't nothing different than today. They all working, they, you know, they get in their little bubble. Go, this is what happened, that's what happened. You know, this is how we gonna write it down, everybody in sync, you know what I mean? But their story get broke, chipped apart. Feel me? Cops realize, yo, I might have killed the wrong kid. You know what I mean? And that's how that movie's about. That's what that movie's about. You know what I
shit that
mean?
still go on today.
Shit that's still going today, man. That's why it has an impact.
That's what make it
That's why it has
that's
an
what make it
impact. You know
such
what
a
I mean?
classic, because you can still relate to it today.
You can
You
still
know?
relate to it. You feel me? And Coolie High is almost similar. You know what I mean? Like I could relate to Coolie High. When we was younger and how we used to go everywhere. You know, I'm from Patterson, so we used to go everywhere. You feel me? Like we used to
Everywhere.
walk the
Right.
entire Patterson. You know what I mean? Yo, we going by such
Riding
and such
bikes, all
house.
that.
You know,
I
we
was
gonna
in
go
that
by your
era too.
girlfriend house. We gonna
As
go
a
by your
kid,
girlfriend. We gonna go by your
you know?
yeah. And that's what that movie's basically about. Feel me? And you know, just getting girls and shit like that, man. You know, scuffling up fights and shit. You know, getting caught up in the wrong things growing up. One of them, the one of the main characters get killed. You know what I mean? And it's like it was a shock because it wasn't even, it was hearsay that got him killed. You know what I mean? That he may have snitched on something. And he ain't snitched. You know what I mean? I think the teacher was like, you know, spoke to the police. It was four dudes that got caught in a stolen car. You feel me? And he was one of them. But the teacher spoke in his behalf. School teacher spoke to the police in his behalf and got him out. And got him off. You know what I mean? But the two dudes that did get locked up, they was like, nah, son, rat it. You know what I mean? So they just put, you know, it's KOS, my nigga. You know what I mean? So this nigga on site. I mean, it was like that. And we got beat to death. And it was a
That
shock
shit
to this
crazy.
boy who was not, you know, they wasn't from that life. They wasn't cut from that cloth. And it's like a lot of people ain't cut from that cloth. They just like to play in that world sometimes. And it's like they played in that world, got caught up, tripped up, fell on their face. And it was a realization like, look, man, stay in your lane, basically. That's what that movie's basically about. You know what I mean? If you're not in that life, stay out of it. 100%. Don't even affiliate with them dudes because them dudes live like we said prior in other shows. They live over their shoulder. You know what I mean? And you can get caught up in that. So it's basically that movie is like, yo, if you don't play in that lane, stay out that lane from at all costs. You know what I mean? And another movie that I'm not even gonna say another movie, but this guy, Dolomite. I'm gonna leave it that with you, Dolomite. You know what I mean? Rudy Ray Moore. Let's talk about that.
Dolomite is one of my favorite 70s movies because truthfully, it was obnoxious as shit. It was the king of blaxploitation at the time from, exaggerating what street culture is.
Kung
You know
Fu
what I
Pimp.
mean?
You feel me?
All of it
Yeah,
the action scenes to the one of the wildest, funniest love scenes ever. You know what I mean? Lamp
yeah.
falling off the
Dolomite
floor.
was his
Like
own
it was
man.
crazy, man. It was
Dolomite was his
a
own man, bro.
hilarious movie. Hilarious movie. You know what I mean?
You know what I'm saying? Dolomite was his own man, bro. And that's the crazy part because, like, I don't know if he wrote his own movies, but I know he was a comedian. Like he's similar. He remind me of like the Wayne
Yeah.
brothers. You feel me? How they could write their own thing and become their own actors in it. You feel me? He's like the stepping stone to that. You know what I mean? Like he created that ethos for them to do stuff like that. You know what I mean? And it was like, yo, you could be as crazy as you want to be in your own movie.
Man.
You know what I mean? It was like, I remember Dolomite used to come on. Even as a kid, I used to be like, what the hell is this? Like, what the hell is this, bro? What the hell is this pimp doing
Right.
karate and all
Right.
this for? But like this, it didn't
Right.
register me like
Like
it
it
was
was like the
comedy.
first spoof movie. Right? Like you said, the Wayans brothers, how they made like the scary movies and how they
White girls and
like
all
how
that.
they
You know what I mean? Like all these
absolutely.
crazy. You feel me? Like you could see how. And don't get me wrong. Like, how do we relate this to hip hop, right? Because that freedom of creation is very important in rap. You feel me? Like you do have to understand that rappers have a persona. You feel me? And a lot of their persona, they learn from movies that they watch that gave them sense of freedom to be whoever they want to be. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you wanted, you got a lot of people. They go to church every Sunday. They good kids in school, but they talk about the streets like they about that life. You know what I mean? Like it's like, yo, you just completely, this dichotomy is crazy. But you could be who you want to be. You feel me? And that freedom of art, you know what I mean? Imitating life and life imitating art all together is, definitely in our culture, especially the hip hop culture, because you know how to think. The hip hop culture came out of the 70's. Even though a lot of people, it was in the 80's, but it came out of the 70's. You know what I mean? It was established in the 70's. You feel what I'm saying? If the 70's didn't happen, hip hop would not be in existence to this day.
I agree.
That's a fact. That's an actual fact.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Plus,
Right.
Dolomite had a cool story, man. Shout out to, Dolomite is my name because that really like sparked my interest in seeing, what was going on. And so, Rudy Ray Moore, he was a comedian. He was a struggling, but
His
he was
own
a
man.
struggling
He
comedian,
was his own man.
right? And the cool thing is he met somebody in the street and started telling him a story about Dolomite. That's where the character came from. That's what the
Yeah.
character came from. So what Rudy did, he started paying the man to tell him these stories. And they were so, the way he did it, it was a rhythmic pattern how he did it, like everything kind of rhymed. It was almost like when you heard the guy telling him the stories, he said it in a poetic way, which made it entertaining, right? It was kind of
Right.
hip hop, right? It was like the old school, you know, 70s beginning of hip hop. You know what I mean? The hip, it to the
All
bit,
right.
all
All
that.
right. All right. All right. All right.
Created that character off of them stories, blew it up in the stand up community, and from there he wrote the movie Dolomite.
Right. Right.
And that's what you
crazy.
get.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Dolomite.
All right. So you cannot talk about the 70s, right, without mentioning a couple facts, right? So one,
Godfather. Before Scarface. Scarface. Because when it comes to hip hop, everybody, when it comes to hip hop and the mafia movies, it's very easy to tie Scarface into hip hop, right? Right? Like that was like,
Well, they tie a lot of people tie Scarface into hip hop because of the violent nature of it, right? The Godfather was subtle. You know what I mean? And it's like,
and it's a different time of hip hop also. Like when the Godfather,
right,
hip hop wasn't there yet,
wasn't even
right?
hip hop
It wasn't created
even
yet.
framed yet. So Godfather, right? You gotta understand the Italian family, right? Italians at the time when the Godfather came out, there was white people in America before Italian people. Italian people were, niggas. You feel me? They were, they had their derogatory name, wops, all these names that they do to people. Italians were under that umbrella of discrimination.
They wasn't accepted as white people.
They wasn't accepted into the white community like that. And another fun fact, right, about The Godfather is it was supposed to be whack. They didn't really think it'd go anywhere. It was like written off. You feel me? Like when it came out, it was like, what the hell is this? Get this shit out of here. You know what I mean? And Marlon Brando and all them. It took about a week. I think it took about. I'm not 100% sure. I think it took about a week to get into the bloodstream of America, bro. And it was off the charts. So much so that they begged him to make part two. He made it against his will. He didn't really want to make it. You know what I mean? He didn't really want to make part two, but he made it. And he was like, I'm not making a part three. And he didn't. You feel me? That's why part three is completely different than one and two. One and two came out in 72, 74. Right? Which one?
Yeah.
The father? No, the father died from old age. You feel me? And part two is where you see the rise. It's like a split reality where you see the upcoming of the father and you see the upcoming of Michael simultaneously being split on different timelines, but it's similar. You feel me? This is when Michael is coming into power, his son, because Michael was the good kid that turned, had to do whatever's needed for the family to survive. Sonny got killed. His other brother, was weak in the knees. And let me say something. Let me say something about this right here. If this was a current movie, it would not be called Godfather. It'd be called Godmother, because their sister, even though in part one she was weak, she came to be. The sister of the Godfather came to be. You can see that in part three because she is the one that brought she became like the power figure in part three. You know what I'm saying? And I think that if it was like, man, listen, man, if people know the Godfather, they know what I'm talking about, bro. Like, the sister had power. You know what I'm saying? His sister had power. She grew into power. She understood her family dynamics. You know what I mean? When Michael got ill and all that right there, his sister was at the forefront. You feel me? There would probably be a godmother. And that would have been dope, bro. That'd be super dope, bro.
It would have been dope
you know
for
its time.
Yeah.
And this is another fun fact. That's Adrian from Rocky. Just to let people know. That's Rocky's wife. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been dope. You know what I mean? But the Godfather is It's undeniably one of those movies that's like, yo, it's like reaching into a world, like, and just, you know what I mean, experiencing another world behind a lens, you know what I'm saying? And that was dope. That's a classic. That's a
Would
classic,
you
bro. That's going down in
would you
infamy.
say
You
that's
feel me? Like,
the greatest of all time when it comes to that genre of mafia crime dramas?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
nothing better than The
yeah,
Godfather.
yeah. No movie, because it's like theater. You know what I'm saying? It's like theater. It's like going to a matinee or something. It's like theater, man, and it brings you in there. Where you start, you got to remember the names to keep up. You know what I mean? It's Godfather is a dope movie for all the young kids, and it takes time to watch. Like if you're young and your mind can't stand still, you probably not gonna be able to watch Godfather.
Man, it's
You
something
know what
that you
I'm
got to
saying?
focus
I
on.
know people that's a full grown adults to this day. They're like, I'm watching The Godfather for the first time, and I'm like, damn. I was watching that back in the day. I had the collection. You know what I mean? I never liked part three.
You
You
still
know,
respected it from what
I
it
just
was,
didn't
though.
like part. I respected it for what it was, but I didn't like part three, man. That's just that, man. You know what I'm saying? What can I say? Another fun facts about the 70's, man. A lot of things happened in the 70's. You know what I'm saying? The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, Stephanie Mills, you know what I'm saying? And I
Wiz,
was, it was Stephanie
Wiz,
Mills, bro, you know what I mean? Yes.
absolutely.
Wiz, you know, um, NYC, Infamous Blackout, you know what I mean? Roots, you know what I mean? The Wiz with Diana Ross and Michael
Okay,
Jackson, Richard
so
Pryor,
that's
like,
the
you know what I'm
Wiz.
saying? Like, these are the TV shows. These are the TV shows, bro, that, the one with Stephanie Mills was a Broadway
Okay,
situation.
so that was
You
named The
feel me?
Wizard of Oz, The Wonderful Wizard of Oz. Okay, and the
Right.
Wiz,
That's
yeah,
the Wonderful Wiz. And the Wiz is with Diana
yeah,
Ross, Michael
yeah,
Jackson,
yeah,
Richard Pryor.
yeah.
Bro, I
Classic
remember that.
movie.
I remember
Classic
that,
movie.
bro. Like, just like seeing the Wizard of Oz. I remember that. You know what I mean? And one of your favorites. One of your favorites, bro.
Which
And I'm
one?
gonna let you take this because you
Which one
feel
we
about
talking
that. Like,
about?
see, I wasn't even gonna go there, but we gonna go there now.
You said the
Warriors,
favorite.
bro. Can
You
you
said
dig it?
the favorite.
Can you dig it?
Warriors,
Yo,
come out and
yes, sir.
play.
Yes, sir. The Coney Island kids, you heard? The Coney Island kids is in
How
effect.
dope was this movie, Jay?
This movie, there's a lot of history to this movie, man. There's a lot of history to this movie. This movie has a lot of facets to it, art and reality, right? So if you look at the Warriors, right, it's cartoonish, not cartoonish, but comic book like. You feel me? It has a comic book theme, you know what I mean, with all the gangs. I mean, the baseball furies, the orphans. Like it has a comic book flavor. You know what I mean? Like that's the best way I can say. It has a comic book flavor to it, and a theatric to it. You know what I mean? And all in New York. This is all New York. You feel me? But it has a true history to it. You feel me? That's the thing. It has a true history to it. You feel me? In the early 70's, you feel me? There was this kid named Black Benji. And New York was not the New York that we know today. So New York then was like, hell on earth, bro. Feel me? There was no you walking, you know, a couple blocks down the street. That wasn't happening. You was walking into another gang territory. This is the world that we was in at the time. New York was at the time. You feel me? In the beginning of the 70's. And gangs, with their colors on and their jackets and all that was real. This was really real. The warrior story, how they look in the movie, that's a really thing. That's a real thing. You know what I'm saying? And this kid named Black Benji, he was trying to bring gangs together. Feel me? And he got caught in a crossfires, a couple gangs fighting. He got murdered. That spawned all the gangs coming together. They met at the boys' club. Who I'm talking about New York. These gangs, all these kids. If you think about mad kids, that's like saying every grammar school or every high school, let's meet up in East Side High School. Every high school in New Jersey, grammar school in New Jersey, meet up at East Side. This is what I'm talking. This is this is how many people was at this place, right? It was a truce, sort of like in the beginning of Warriors, right? With Cyrus and all that. The truths, Roger Hill, that's that's Cyrus. You know what I mean? He played in the the education of Sonny Carson, feel me? And that's Roger Hill. But that truth was real. You feel me? It was stapled in history. You feel me? And although the gangs were made to be like comic book, like, cartoonish, you know, and but it had a lot of history. Like you could look at the Warriors, right? And you could think of the movie 300, how they fought all different types of things. You feel what I'm saying? Like they fought different mobs and wars to get to where they was
Different
going.
levels of war.
And with all different types of mass, armed, you know what I mean? Just 300, the movie itself, right? So it's like, there's a lot of movies spawned off of that, right? And I think, this movie is like, it's going down and it's never gonna fade away. Like, I don't even think you could just watch this. You could just turn your TV to this. Like, you gotta pay for that shit or some shit like that. Like, it is, and and it's the crazy part. The numbers in Warriors is 9. You feel me? 9. It's 9 members from each gang could come to the truths, right? They had to go through 9 different gangs.
Man.
You feel me? Like, before they could get the JustSayOx on the island. Like, I don't know where they get the 9 from, but it's the symbol in the Warriors. I mean, that's dope. And the leader was black. A lot of people don't even know that the leader of the Warriors was black. It wasn't a white guy that you see on the front cover. He was black. You feel me? And he was the first one that got beat up by the Riffs at the beginning. You know what I mean? He used to have the rag on his head with some. He was the leader. What's your favorite part about the Warriors, though, man? Like, that was just a brief history of the Warriors, but that was one of my favorites too.
I mean, the whole movie is kind of like it relates to what you look at when it comes to like different cliques in the street coming up from that era.
Right.
You feel what I'm saying? Like, you did have the leader that get beat up and down, they on the run, and you got, they running from other gangs, they running from cops at the same time. You feel what I'm saying? Like, they got close calls every time, beefing with them, but you got the boys on you at, you know what I mean?
And they get split up and everything.
It's surviving, man. Like, it was like surviving when the city was against you. You know what I'm saying? Like all of them,
And this is a fun fact. Everybody know the end of the Warriors. Warriors.
Right.
This dude that did that, the white kid that was doing that, I think they call him Robes. I think that's what their name was. Yo, my man thought of that shit on the spot.
Oh, yeah.
They didn't know what to do. So he just took I think it was beer bottles he had in his hand. He did that. I think he said because a dude used to taunt him in his neighborhood like that. And so he just found some empty beer bottles and he just started doing it. What? And it was like, yo, that's that line, that action is iconic, bro. You can't, that
when you
that
think of
is
Warriors,
like,
you think of
that is crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that shit crazy, bro. That shit crazy, bro. And I love the Warriors, right? But it's some things and some movies, you know what I mean, that we gonna forget, right? It's mad movies we gonna forget. And I wanna just venture back because we grew up watching these also not Blaxploitation movies. You feel me? It's the kung fu movies. You know what I'm saying? Like we watch kung fu movies every weekend, bro. One of them is Five Deadly Venoms. You feel what I'm saying? Kid with the golden arms. Feel me? 36 Chambers. You know what I'm saying? Like these movies, bro, although they not, black, they minority.
Man,
You
man,
understand what I'm saying?
man.
They minority. It's a minority. They minority actors. Feel me? Minority producers. Feel me? And things of that name. Shaw Brothers, you could. I mean, the Five Deadly Venoms is classic. That is never gonna fade out. The 36
Five
Chambers
Deadly Venoms
never
for a
gonna fade
person
out.
like me, that's the most common classic of that genre of martial arts.
Absolutely.
And
And it's so
martial
many
art
more.
movies back in them days was the best action movies though. You feel me? It was like I know you mentioned how Warriors had like that comic feel to it, the way they put it together.
Right.
But when you look at
Right.
martial arts, it was like watching a comic book almost. It was like, yo, because they was on their shit when it came to the
Doing
special effects,
it was doing
the
beautiful.
sound effects, and the
Yeah.
back up.
The speed, it's like the way they was filming it. Like if you didn't have those movies, you wouldn't get movies like The Matrix. You know what I'm saying? Because of the way that the martial arts and the filming went together. The quick editing, every punch, you know what I mean? It's edited, film, the noise from it, all that right there, you know what I mean, is like attributed to a lot of martial arts. These high, fast movies, the Jason Bournes and all that, you feel me? They come from the art of like watching a
Right. They
martial
are
arts
they are
movie.
they are
You know
martial
what I'm
arts. They
saying?
took martial arts and of course they ran it through time with different action and you put different parts in. You know what I mean? But where it stemmed from are those movies.
Absolutely. That's
It
that's
was a
my
movie,
opinion.
man, back in them
You feel
days,
me?
bro. And I wish I would have looked it up. And it just hit me just now. But it was one of my favorite movies. But in this movie, the villain, he had the ability to make his
Right.
whole hand turn black. Right? And when he hit you in the chest, like you would just die. It was something about I can't remember the movie, man, but it was like
Me
it
neither.
was
Yo, it's so many
that was
kung
the
fu
first
movies,
movie
man.
I seen
It's
where the
mad.
Chinese dude jumped
It's
off the
mad
sword
kung
and
fu
shit.
movies.
And it was from back in the 70's.
Hey, yo, check this out, right? I want to say something. I want to just rewind a little bit. If you remember when I said a minute ago, this is off the kung fu. This is not with the kung fu, but this is with the warrior situation. If you remember when I said all the kids from all the different schools going, everybody gonna meet up at Eastside, what that'll look like. It'll look like a Beyonce concert. You know what I'm saying? It it'll look like a Beyonce concert, right?
As far
So
as
if you
numbers,
think of that,
just the numbers.
as far as numbers, so if you think these was enemies at one point, they were enemies before that, but now they all coming together to do a truce, right? And think about what happened after the truce. Think about this. This is what spawned popping, breakdancing, rapping, DJing, well, just MCing and DJing, because those kids came together with all their dreams and ambitions and styles and whatnot, where me and you are enemies, but now you see me and I see you, and I might like your style, I might add to that, and you might add to my style, and it's like, oh, yo, instead of these or these knives, let's battle. You know what I mean? Put the cardboard down. Let's dance battle, pop battle. You know what I mean? DJ Cool Herc wouldn't be DJ Cool Herc if that wasn't allowed. You understand what I'm saying? Like, if nobody can go to the party, You feel me? Because it was so regional and it just stayed. I mean, not even regional, but local, and it just
right.
stayed
It stayed
there.
local. It would be boring as hell.
And it stayed local. That nobody from other areas could come in and witness or feel the vibe of that, then it wouldn't happen. Like rapping basically wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't exploded like that. You understand what I'm saying? The hip hop culture kind of expanded like that because of the truths. That's my opinion. You know what I mean? And you know, other people share that opinion, but I definitely feel that opinion deeply because I'm like, yo, if you think about being a teenager and things that go through your mind as a teenager, from the way you know want to dress and all that, and you got somebody else that's just like that, but they from across town or from around the corner, what have you, and now y'all get to politics. You know what I mean? It's like, yo, look, you rap, I rap. You know what I mean? It's like we could do that now. You know what I'm saying? We have the ability to do that now. Why? Because my mans and your mans, they don't want to kill each other no more. We like, yo, that's where y'all at. That's where we at. You know what I mean? So you could come through, you know what I mean? Y'all, what y'all battling? Let's just form a influence. Let's rock to this. You get where I'm coming from? Like, yo, this shit is the
you saw the unity kind of form.
The unity kind of like
it evolved.
The unity, yeah, bro. Especially with teenagers, man. Most of these, they were teenagers. They was teenagers, no doubt, no doubt. Teenagers, high school, grammar school, whatever. But you know, they had their own little style. But it was so like tight into their neighborhood that they couldn't even come out of their neighborhood. So it was like now you could come out of your neighborhood. You could go to that park. You know what I mean? It's just like, yo, that's why. And I'm gonna say this. That's why keeping us divided is very important. Because one situation, one drop in a bucket like that situation happened, and look where hip hop is today. It's global. You understand what I'm saying?
Biggest music.
It's global. It's an international
all time.
Ever. It's global. So imagine if Ops wasn't Ops, Blood was Crip wasn't that. And it was like, yo, let's politic. Let's see where you at. Let me see where I'm at. You know, we could build something off of that. You know, and all the gangs, you know, just put that shit aside. And yo, let's see each other for real. You know, beyond the mask of protection and you know and all that right there, the animosity, you know, let's see each other beyond that. And especially in today, especially in the technological. You know what I'm saying? Who knows where to come out of that? But they know the real op is doing everything in their power not to allow that to happen. I had to say that. Gotta say it like that, bro.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's always been said, imagine what we could do united. You know, that kind of fall place into the way the world is right now. You know, which I ain't gonna get into all that, but you know, you got everything going on with the whole ICE situation, the No King March, all that. You know,
we on a cellular because I was always a Rocky fan, right? I'm a Rocky fan. I love Rocky. When Rocky first came out, I was like, but nothing was better than seeing a black man. I mean, I recall, I think it was you that said, like, he's like more like a Muhammad Ali. Carl Witherspoon, Apollo Creed, bro. You know what I mean? Apollo Creed, the way he was in Rocky 1, because Rocky came out in the 70s. We might have saw it in the 80s, but Rocky came out in the 70s. Apollo Creed was flamboyant. The American, everything.
Oh yeah.
Can't be beat. You know, Jamal lost his mind, right? You know that, right? I'm just Jamal, if you ever watch this, I'm telling you, I remember you losing your mind, bro. You know what I mean? You saw your little afro, you were like, yeah, that's me, bro. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm pretty sure a lot of young kids, but that was important for us. You feel me? That was important. it's representation, on the big screen, you know what I mean? And yeah, man, Carl Weatherspoon, peace, bro, you know what I mean? Follow Creed, he represented the kids that had that fight in him, and he did it on a big screen. You feel me? It was like, yo, and he flamboyant with it. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You feel me? He was flamboyant. You know, you see the
Yeah.
Mayweathers now. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know, and the Tyson is the complete opposite of that.
Tyson would be more compared
So,
to Mr. T in Rocky 3. You know, you know what I mean?
what was his name? I
Bruiser
forgot his
Brown.
name in Rocky 3.
Bruiser, something like that.
I forgot his name. I forgot his name in Rocky 3, man, but listen.
Clubber Lane. That's what I said, Bruiser Brown.
Clubber Lane. Clubber Lane. Yeah. But you know, the representation of seeing somebody like that in a major epic film was definitely inspiring, man. You know what I mean? Like, you can't deny that. And it's so many movies. I remember Roots came out when I was a kid, right? I forgot what grade I was in. This is a funny thing about Roots. When Roots came out, I think it played for like 8 days or something like that. 8 nights, you know what I mean? So I went to, at the time we lived over there on East 24th Street, which, you know, multiracial area for the time, right? So we went to a multiracial school, whites, blacks, Spanish, you know what I mean? And I remember, I think it was like second night, third night, we hit the TV. We piled up my older cousins, sisters, they friends. We walk into school, mob deep. You feel me? We walk into school this morning, mob deep. All the older kids is mob deep, and they ready for war after watching Roots. That day in school, I think everybody that was white got knocked out. All the male teachers got either pushed, mushed, or punched in their face. You feel me? I don't think nothing happened to the white teachers. I think they was a little scared, but dudes was like ape. That they watched Roots and they was like, that's not us.
Oh yeah.
You feel me? And we gonna prove this to yo. For as long as Roots was on TV, no white person came to school.
If I watch Roots today, it gives me that anger. That's why I don't. It's a classic, but it's something that I don't want to watch. You know what I mean? Because of the emotion and stuff that came behind it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Because and imagine you a kid and you emotionally immature,
right? Because when I first seen Roots, I was a kid and I was immature and I didn't understand. You know what I mean? Like I knew what slavery was, but I knew what school slavery was. What they taught you in school. They didn't go into super in-depth things like Roots did from what we was learning in school. We knew enough to know that it was bad. It was some bullshit. Like, damn, this shit crazy. But Roots painted that picture of the
visualization.
And it was like, you watch it and, you know, excuse my language, you're like, you motherfuckers, man. Like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, it give you,
you did that to my grandfather's grandfather. Like, it's like, what?
It gives you that feel. You know what I mean? Like, it definitely give you that feel. Like, and, you know, we come from, we got all type of people in our lives, right? Through family, friends, all that. So definitely not nothing racist about it, right? But if I was sitting next to one of my white boys, one of my homeboys that happen to be white, and it's just us and we watch Roots, I'm gonna look at this motherfucker like, you motherfucker. Even though I know, you know, from the bottom of my heart, like if I call you my homie, like you my dude. Like I don't ever have to worry about that. But that movie will make me just like, you know what I mean? Like call your grandfather, son.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Call your grandfather, bro. We gotta have that conversation. That's why I don't watch it. I don't watch it. I can't watch it. It's too much.
Too little. I was too little. I was too little, like to comprehend it that way. You know what I mean? I don't, because I don't. It premiered in '77, right? But I don't think I saw it until a few years afterwards. I was old enough to walk to school with my family, you know what I mean? Because it was my older cousins. They all piled up in front of the house and their friends. And then we walked to school, you know, like several blocks to school. But this one particular day, dudes came different that morning. Like they didn't come with books in their hand, you know what I mean? Like, they came with like shanks and little things like, yo, what you got? I got this right here. Yo, word is born.
So they played it. So
no
this was
koofies.
their
This
time. So when you seen it,
like,
they was playing it for the first time on network TV.
See, I don't know if it was the first time.
But it was
because the first time could have been when my moms and them watched it, right? My moms and them could have watched it, and then they just played it again, right? And it could have been
going
several
on,
years later,
where they ran it.
Right, like I had to be like in the 4th grade, 5th grade, or something like that. And I just remember walking to school with all my older cousins and my sisters in them, and nobody white from my neighborhood was walking to school that day. For some reason, nobody white was outside, and dudes was getting knocked out for nothing. Before they even entered the school, they was getting knocked out. It was
just cause
like, yo, what's up?
For y'all age bracket, that was y'all first time seeing these movies. Or seeing that movie. I'm sorry.
Seeing that movie.
Cause you gotta feel like, cause you just feel anger, man.
Alex Haley, man, listen. Alex Haley put that shit together, visualization. You know, the back and forth, you know, you gonna do this and I'm gonna cut your leg, you know, all that.
It was one of the movies where it didn't hold back. Like a lot of things held back, especially on the topic of slavery. Like we look at it tonight, you know, now, you know, we try to, you know, just trying to erase slavery out of history. You know what I mean? So to have something that vivid that happened, and you talking about that came out in the 70s.
And you talking about,
you know,
8
nights straight. 8 nights straight. Sunday to Sunday.
8 nights.
Sunday night to Sunday night. The Roots is on TV.
If that's 8 nights, if that's 8 nights, bro, listen, they played it every. Yo, listen. Another classic, right? Just, you know, I mean, my age, I'm beautiful. You know what I mean? Whatever age I am, but I'm beautiful. I ain't gonna lay out. But listen, it's another classic, man. And this movie right here, I remember going to bed on it, and all I could do was want to be this dude. You feel me? Like, I remember how, like, I felt power in my chest when this movie came out. Like, my imagination broadened. You know what I'm saying? When this movie came out. And that's Superman, bro.
Christopher Reeve's Superman.
Superman came out in the 70s, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Christopher
Reeve, bro. Bro, if you telling me, bro, watching Superman for the first time, you know what I mean? And this Superman 1. We all know, you know, like one of the best Supermans, I think is what, 2?
Yeah,
right?
I would say Superman. Out of the Christopher Reeve movies, I would say 2 was the hardest.
Yeah. But just watching Superman for the first time, you know what I mean? Lois Lane, Superman, Clark Kent, like go flying, you know, as a kid, bro, you like, yo, I want to be Superman.
Oh yeah, that shit was everything.
I want to be Superman. I want to be Superman. That's like kids now. You know, my son is early 20s, so when he was a kid, right, I can remember what the Transformers did to them. Even though the Transformers are something that we watched as kids, you know, when.
But the new movies,
they started
the new movies,
the movies of the Transformers. Man. Erupted these
My mind kids, as a kid back then was to watch the movies that kids have the opportunity to watch now. It'd be fucking mind blowing. It'd be like dynamite going off, like boom, like, oh my God, this is so real.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how I felt that that's what it was. We went to Universal Studios and they had a ride called the Transformers, but in Universal, the joints are like, you know, what you call the virtual reality joints. But bro, I promise you, on everything, when you get on that ride, you are in the middle of one of the hardest action scenes of a Transformer movie. It was incredible. Yeah, you know what I mean? So I get it. Like, I get it. I get it.
Word.
You know?
And you know, like we said before, Richard Pryor is a whole situation
In
in
itself.
itself. And it's another
Like,
hey,
what was
bro,
they
I
thinking when they
heard that he
wanted to
used to
put,
date
not to
Pimp.
cut you off, but I wonder what was in their mind. It's like, yo, we gonna put Richard Pryor in the Superman movie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Richard Pryor played in
It
mad
was a
movies,
great
man.
idea, bro.
Remember he played in that
Oh,
toy
yeah.
movie?
But what was my
You
man
know,
name? Yeah,
I
Toy.
remember that one. That came
Yeah.
on TV.
Was that
That came
70s?
on TV, right?
Toy was 70s? Or
I
was that early
don't
80s? I gotta
don't
look
remember.
that up. But I definitely remember that.
I don't remember. Yeah, that was dope. And you know, Magic Johnson, you know what I mean? Magic Johnson was joining the Lakers. You feel me? I'm
Little history.
just in it. I'm just giving you a little history of the '70s. Magic Johnson stepped on the court. You know what I mean? Like that was
Game changer.
magic. You know what I mean? Game changer. You had basketball before, you know, Dr. J on. Magic Johnson was a little bit more younger.
At that time, he was like Allen Iverson for what he was for us back in the 90s. You know what I mean? Like it was like something that was like you ain't see it until they did it. You know what I mean?
You ain't seen this type of dude.
And don't get me wrong, Dr. J was a monster, bro. And he brought that energy for that decade, though. And you know what I mean?
It was the beef with the beef with the Celtics, right?
Oh yeah.
So that let you know that Bird, you feel me, was in the sphere of all this time too, right? Like, and you know, Dr. J, all of them was part of this you feel me, Bob, and I guess I don't know if Converse was sponsored.
Yeah, I think Converse was rocking with them late 70s. I think late 70s is when Converse became the shoe of the NBA.
Yeah. Was it the 70s? It probably was the 80s though. I'm not sure. I'm just not sure. You know what I'm saying?
I'm pretty sure that
you
the
know,
Converse was the shoe. Because I remember looking at some of them old games, like the one with Dr. J is in the air doing a dunk and he's wearing Converse. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I never owned a pair of Converse, me neither. Bro, ever. And yo, this is another one of the classics right here. You know what I'm saying?
Cheech and Chong.
Boy, Cheech and Chong, bro. Cheech and Chong is like Bob Marley and Richard Pryor all having the same soul. It's like imagine Bob Marley and Richard Pryor in the same soul, you know, the same body, like Cheech and Chong. Man, it's so many movies, man. Don't get me wrong, Clint Eastwood movies, you know, it's so many movies, man. But Cheech and Chong, they part of the essence, you know what I'm saying? And it was like I remember when I watched Cheech and Chong, and I just thought, what the hell is wrong with these guys, bro? They dumb, but they not dumb. They slow, but they not slow. They just love weed. And as you get older, you start saying, bro, there's nothing wrong with what they doing because it's countries that live in that state. You feel me? I mean, it's civilizations in that state. It's just here in America, it's different. Like you go to the islands, they smoke like that regularly. Come here, it's like, yo, what are you doing? What? Like this is a natural situation in other countries, and they productive. These dudes are funny as hell. That's why I said that's your man's in them. That's your man's in them, man. You feel me? But
Cheech and Chong, man. Look, man, shout out to all the greats, man. Shout out to the greats of the 70s, man. You know what I mean? Them movies influenced the 80s, which is one of my favorite movie eras. You know what I mean?
And it's so much more. We're going to tell you right up. We're not going to hit every note on this right here, but we definitely going to hit ours. And we hope you appreciate ours, you know, opinions.
Our opinion matters.
Everybody got one. Everybody got one, you feel me? And I'm pretty sure you got an opinion on the 70s and these movies that we missed. Yo, just drop it. Let somebody else hear it because that's important. You write it. You know what I mean? Somebody else is going to be like, word, I forgot about that movie. There you go, watch it. You know what I mean? Because Blaxploitation movies, you know, the karate movies, all that right there, they matter. they do give way to what's now. You know what I mean?
100%. And even though we call them Blaxploitation movies or Blaxploitation movies, it's hard me to say it out. Right?
I know it's a tongue twister, right?
Right.
Blaxploitation.
But when it's a classic movie, it's a classic movie. You know.
And it's so many of them,
and classic goes beyond race because comedy goes beyond race. Real situations go beyond race. You know what I mean?
And I just want people to realize how a lot of 70s movies, they inspired these movies, and 80s movies inspired the 90s. It's like they all got
they
piggybacked
off all of them.
And they created something. And it created a society. You know what I mean? Life do imitate art, and art does imitate life. And it's like it creates a lot of your societies. Why your kids talk the way they talk, or why you walk the way you walk. You know what I mean? Why you like certain things is because you probably saw your moms and your pops or something like that saying. You know, and it's like
what it did.
It
was bringing the news, whether it was exaggerated or not, but it was bringing the news everywhere else that it wasn't. See, when stuff is happening around you, right, you're there in it. So it's easy to understand what it is. But until some of these other people see some of these movies, they have no idea what's going on, especially at that time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I mean, that's why, I mean, it's big for the culture. It's big for the 80s culture. It's big for the 90s culture.
Absolutely.
It's big for the 2000s because they piggyback off of all of it. You know?
They definitely are rehashing some of these movies in a modern era. Hollywood is rehashing these movies in a modern, with modern cars and clothes, but they rehashing these movies. You know what I mean? Movies that they once deemed as bullshit. That's
because it's nothing better than what is the best. And if you can't make it better, you just try to redo it. Right? If you can't make a better movie than what it is, then you just gonna try to redo it. And most of them never turn out as good as the original.
Yeah, we definitely gotta do this again. In 70s, we're gonna leave the 70s where it's at. We're gonna step into the 80s. Dang, crack up.
The 80s is a hell of an era. Movies, music,
hell of an era.
Everything. You know?
But we're gonna stick to cinema when on this topic. We're gonna stick to the cinema part and how it affected everything and surrounding it. But I'm saying, man,
just say ox. You can really just say ox. Like, you see how that worked?
Facts.
But listen, man, if you liking what we talking about, subscribe, hit those likes, hit those comments, leave your opinions. Let us know what else you want to, what you would like to hear, and we on it, man. We in this thing together. You heard?
Yeah,
we in this thing together.
We're coming out the 70s, baby. We coming out the 70s with it. You're back from the smack era to the crack era.
Look at that, from the smack era to the crack era, and I'm a kid from the crack era. How fucked up is this? Yo, man. Peace, love, man. Till the next time. We out.
Peace. All right. We out.